Breaking tonight, exactly 2 months until America elects the next president. And brand new polls out late today show this race getting tighter in some of the most critical battleground states. Good evening and welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Hours ago, one of the nation's most trusted pollsters releasing new surveys from 4 key states. And things are in play. Tonight, Donald Trump on the campaign trail, making his second visit this week to Ohio, talking education in Cleveland. The Quinnipiac University poll telling us why he's there. It is a dead heat. Clinton at 45%, Trump at 46%. Mrs. Clinton's 4-point lead from early August disappearing. And in Florida, it is also tied, with both candidates at 47%. In North Carolina, Clinton is ahead by 4 points, just outside the margin of error. That's the first time Quinnipiac has polled in that state. And in Pennsylvania, the most dramatic change. Clinton's lead now cut in half, down from 10 points in August to 5 points today. Now she's ahead 48% to Trump's 43%. So what does it tell us? Chris Stirewalt is our Fox News digital politics editor, and Mo Elleithee is the founding executive director of the Georgetown University Institute of Politics and Public Service. Great to see you both. Stirewalt, how do you see it?
Well, first of all, thank God that we have polls. We've lived in this wasteland of garbage internet polls, and finally we have real polling, so I'm excited.
You're a poll snob.
I know. I'm such a poll snob. But the truth is, this is really important because it tells us the shape of the race is changed. And it changed from where Trump was getting blown out after the conventions to now he's back in a tie in the 2 states, of course, that every Republican has to win, Florida and Ohio. Pennsylvania wasn't ever really going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen unless Donald Trump turns this around and becomes some wave election for him. But I don't see Pennsylvania in the running. But it's North Carolina that ought to worry him, because given the fact that he's got a problem in Colorado and Virginia and other states to put together the Republican map, if he can't win in North Carolina, he's got big problems. They've been spending a lot of time there. They're going to spend a lot more.
He needs North Carolina, needs it. Mo, how do you see it? Because, you know, some of her supporters got nervous when they saw that, and some of his got very happy.
Well, and I say this as a former Hillary Clinton staffer, we should be nervous, right? I mean, you don't want to be complacent at this point, and these polls kind of show why, and we've seen other state polls in the past week that do as well. What's really interesting, there were 2 different organizations that did 50 state polls in the past week. Washington Post, SurveyMonkey did one of the most extensive ones I've seen. And they show something similar, that in a lot of these states that you just talked about, the race is tight and within the margin of error. But what's really interesting to me is you're seeing the number of traditional battleground states shrink. Chris just talked about Virginia and Colorado, which have become perennial battleground states. She's doing fairly well in those states outside the margin of error. The number of traditionally red states that have become battleground states is increasingly worrisome, I would think, to the Trump campaign. Georgia's dead even. Arizona is within the margin of error. It shouldn't surprise anyone that Donald Trump chose to give that big immigration speech in Phoenix, and the next day Hillary Clinton's campaign went on the air there. Something's happening. They're seeing something in the numbers in Arizona. So, if you look at the full landscape of all 50 states and the polling and the election were held today, she would win fairly comfortably in the Electoral College. So I do think there's something to worry about there for the Trump campaign.
All right, so what do you think is the conventional wisdom right now, Chris? Is it that it's hers to lose and he needs a huge event to turn it around? Like, does he have to go into those debates and just go for broke? Or does he have to just sort of slow and steady, be a statesman, don't say anything crazy, and somehow hope the sort of missing Trump voters that his campaign has suggested are out there show up on November 8th?
No, he needs the contour of the race to change. While I would throw the SurveyMonkey polls out on their ear and all of that other garbage, a total, but in that case, deserved. I want polls in Maine. I want polls in New Hampshire. I want polls where all of these white people are living and voting. I want to know, is Donald Trump competitive in Minnesota? Is he competitive in Maine? Is he competitive in New Hampshire? If that's the case, Mo's right. We could be looking at a changed map. But if we're not, then we're looking at a race where Donald Trump has trailed all along. He's closer now, but he still needs the structure of the race to be changed in order to win. And that's the reality for him.
Now, Mo, I get that she has this better ground game than Trump. Everybody says that on both sides of the aisle. But he is tightening this. I mean, it's getting tighter. And the question is, why, and whether in the next 2 months it could get so tight that the positions reverse and he's over.
Yeah, well, I wonder how much it's really tightening or how much it's just really settling, right? I mean, both campaigns got little bumps coming out of their conventions, and that's natural and normal, and that always happens, and it usually settles. You know, we are sort of a 50-50 country, or maybe more accurately a 40-40 country, right? Whoever's got the D starts with 40%, whoever's got the R starts with 40%, and you're fighting over that remaining 20. But here's why that ground game matters. Here, that ground game, right? Yeah. Well,
He's coming
what's
on
Aleppo?
later.
You know, when you have races like the states we just talked about that are within the margin of error, the ground game really does matter. A really strong ground game is worth 2 to 4 points. That's the margin in some of these polls that
Trump
we're talking about.
And Trump is just now opening up offices in Florida. Why is he just now opening offices in Florida?
Big hoopla over the fact that he's opening 25 offices in Florida this week. The Clinton campaign has had over 50 offices in Florida for months. They've been investing in those organizers that are out there knocking on doors and making phone calls and developing one-on-one relationships with voters. That matters if these numbers are right.
Well, if his are better. If his can do twice the work of hers, you know, maybe he'll make up the difference.
Right. I mean, you know, everything about him is superhuman. So.
It's great to see you both. Has anybody here, Steyerwalt got it. Did you see the movie Parenthood? You just have seen it with Steve Martin and Diane Wiest, and she's got this, or is it Wiest? It's Wiest. And she's got a couple of kids, and one of them is played by Joaquin Phoenix, right? And his name is Gary, and he keeps walking in on her arguments, and every time she sees him, she says, "Hi, Gary." And that is how I think about Gary Johnson. I'm going to ask him about it when he comes on the show momentarily. That and Aleppo. Well, those new polls are coming in as these candidates are hammering each other out on the campaign trail. Mrs. Clinton arguing that Trump does not have the qualifications to be president. Trump followed up on last night's commander-in-chief forum by offering a dramatic play-by-play takedown of her email scandal. The gloves are off. Here he is in Cleveland a few hours ago.
Hillary Clinton's staff deleted and digitally bleached, which is acid cleaned, her emails after receiving a congressional subpoena. That's after receiving, not before. That's after receiving. She gets a subpoena from the United States Congress, and she deletes and bleaches. She also, and her staff, destroyed some of her 13 different phones, but this time with a hammer. I've never done that. Then, when she was interviewed by the FBI, she claimed she couldn't remember important events 39 times. She couldn't even remember whether she was trained or handling classified information. Didn't remember anything about it. So if she really didn't remember, that's a problem. And if she did remember, that's a problem. She even said she didn't know what the letter C stood for, whether it was confidential, classified information, or something. All the while, as Hillary and Bill raked in millions of dollars from special interest, the world was falling apart.
Joining me now, Monica Crowley, Fox News contributor and former foreign policy assistant to President Nixon, and Roland Martin, who is host of News One Now on TV One and a senior analyst on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Great to see you both. Roland, let me start with you. The man's got a point, no?
Yeah, but here's the deal. I know where she got that hammering with the BlackBerry from. She got that from Tom Brady, because he did that with Deflategate, and he's a Trump supporter. So it's a great idea if you don't want anybody to see your cell phone.
Don't throw a sports reference at me. I can't follow.
No, I mean, that's what Tom Brady did.
Let's stay on Hillary and hammers and bleach. To me, you tell me, I thought the most salient point there was the fact that after she got the subpoena, she did those things. The guy maintaining the server said he had an oh blank moment, but still went ahead and started wiping things clean.
Look, here's the deal. If you're Donald Trump, this is what you need to attack our credibility, so it's no shock that he's doing this. But it's a little hard for me to listen to Donald Trump talk about how Hillary forgot something when he forgot that he was actually for the Iraq War, but now he's against it, when he was for it, but now he's against it. So he might want to have his memory checked as well.
Monica, man, That man's got a point, too. Roland and Trump, both making good points tonight. Your take.
Well, what struck me, Megyn, about the way Donald Trump made this argument and the actual argument, two things. One, his tone. When he was attacking Mrs. Clinton today with the truth and with the facts, he did it in a tone more out of sorrow than in anger. And I think that's actually a much more effective tack. It's sort of Ronald Reagan's approach of, well, there you go again, when the country is at stake. Yeah, and the second thing, too, Megyn, is that we know that the most problematic scandals for any politician are the ones that reinforce a pre-existing negative notion about that candidate. And the reason why the server and the email scandal, which continues to drip, drip, drip with every passing day, the reason it's become so damaging to her, Megyn, is because it reinforces this already existing notion that she is fundamentally untrustworthy, dishonest, out for herself, and above the law.
What about that, Roland? Because last night,
is hitting every day.
One of the things she said was, I did everything right. And she talked about how there was no header. There was no header on these emails, and thus how was I to know? Meanwhile, the people who work for her had been taking off the headers in some instances at her direction. So, the American people know she did not do everything right. And it's amazing, is it not, that she still doesn't have her story straight on this issue?
Okay. I mean, I have said this multiple times. I was on your show last week. I said this on Tom Joyner. I've said it on TV One. Move the hell on, okay? This is very simple. Learn to pivot. 53% of African Americans lost their wealth during the home foreclosure crisis. We still have, she was rushed last night when Matt Lauer asked her about the ISIS question, but spent 12 minutes on emails. Look, simply admit, I screwed up, I shouldn't have done it. The FBI, 100 people investigated it. Look, they chose not to pursue charges. I'm focused on jobs for the American people. And if they ask you 10 times, give the same answer. But you're not going, smart people sometimes want to prove they're really smart. They can convince you. You're not going to convince people. You're wasting time. Keep explaining. Simply say, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. I wouldn't make the same mistake again. Now I'm going to focus on stuff
but meanwhile, Monica,
actually care about.
Donald Trump and the Republicans who support him are sitting back like, you know, enjoying the popcorn, because she still clearly hasn't found the message on this. And she's been struggling on the email front for weeks now, those very weeks that Donald Trump has been closing the gap between the two of them in some of these critical polls, as we saw. So you tell me whether she needs to keep working on it and come up with a better message than the one we heard last night.
Well, she does, Megyn. You're right. The problem is that she can't. I mean, 2/3 of the American people took a look at the FBI report, and they believe that she should have, in fact, faced prosecution. Since Barack Obama became president in 2009, 7 people have been prosecuted for far less in terms of mishandling classified material, 2 of whom have gone to jail.
But they did it intentionally. That's the difference. Just for the record, what the authorities found in those cases was that there was an element of intent that they found lacking, they say, in the Clinton case. Go ahead, finish your point.
That's right. Well, FBI Director Comey indicated that the FBI could not find criminal intent. The problem, Megyn, is twofold. One, the FBI never asked her what her intent was in setting up this private, unsecured, non-government server and network. And 2, just by virtue of setting it up, that was the intent. That's what
didn't James
people see,
Carville
Megyn,
tell
and
us
that's why
once
she can't
she didn't want Daryl Issa going through her emails? So now she doesn't have Issa. She's got Chaffetz, and she's got Judicial Watch, and she's got Gowdy, and she's got us. I got to go. Good to see you both.
Focus on the issues.
Hillary Clinton's not the only one facing new fire tonight. General Jack Keane is here on the controversy over what Mr. Trump said about our military leaders. And Bill Bennett weighs in on how the Iraq war issue may be playing with voters. He's here. He's excited. Don't worry.